You were never loud enough to be noticed, yet never quiet enough to disappear. The world mistook your stillness for emptiness, your hesitation for lack of worth. But what if your shyness was never a flaw only, a defense built from years of invisible wounds you were too young to name? Shyness is not born. It's learned in the silent spaces between rejection and restraint. As a child, you felt the room shift when you spoke the pause, the sigh, the subtle recoil. Your body remembered before your mind could understand, and so it began to fold inward, creating safety through invisibility. You learned that stillness reduced risk, that silence could protect what little of you remained unmocked. Yet beneath that quiet exterior, your nervous system pulsed with unspent energy, a trapped scream vibrating inside the bones of your restraint. You did not choose shyness. It was chosen for you by the emotional climate of your early world. How many times can a child swallow their voice before they begin to choke on themselves? You watched everything. The rise and fall of tones, the tightening of jaws, the weather of people's moods. You became an expert in reading faces that never read you back. Hypervigilance masqueraded as sensitivity, but it was survival, a constant scanning for danger in the smiles of those who claimed to love you. You learned to anticipate disappointment before it arrived, rehearsing your silence as both armor and apology. Every glance, every pause in someone's voice became data you hoarded like a map of safety that never led anywhere real. Shyness became the mask you wore to avoid triggering storms you never caused. When a child learns to see everything, do they ever stop looking for what's about to hurt them next? You discovered early that emotions were dangerous. Crying made them sigh, anger made them withdraw, joy made them suspicious. So you buried every spark under layers of quiet composure until even you forgot where you'd hidden the fire. The lesson was simple. Feel less, survive more. You built a stillness so perfect that even your pulse seemed ashamed to echo. Yet inside, emotions fermented unspoken, unnamed, leaking out as stomach aches, clenched jaws, restless sleep. You didn't stop feeling. You only stopped being allowed to feel where anyone could see it. You became fluent in the art of suppression, the silent obedience mistaken for calm. What happens when a heart learns it must disappear to be loved? Even when you told yourself it didn't matter, your body kept the score. The tension in your shoulders, the shallow breath, the stomach that clenches before you speak, each one a scar written in muscle and nerve. You call it anxiety now, but it began as vigilance, a reflex to danger long gone, yet never ended. Your nervous system lives in yesterday, replaying the same old alarms whenever someone looks too long, speaks too sharply, it's too close. You can't explain why you freeze in harmless moments. Your body doesn't wait for logic. It recognizes ghosts faster than your mind can name them. If your body still believes you're unsafe, does healing mean learning to lie to it or finally listening? You became good at erasing yourself. Not all at once, but gradually, each apology, each swallowed thought, each "it's fine," carving you thinner. People praised you for being easy, low maintenance, sweet. They didn't see that your quietness was a wound performing obedience. You learned to occupy as little space as possible, to smile when you were breaking, to nod when you disagreed. The world mistook your absence for peace. You called it shyness, but it was grief wearing manners. Every time you hid your truth to stay acceptable, another small death occurred, unnoticed but cumulative. How much of you remains when survival demands your disappearance? You were not born ashamed. It was handed to you, piece by piece, through sighs, glances, and unspoken rules. Don't make a scene. Don't be sensitive. Don't draw attention. You learned that your presence itself was an inconvenience. Shame became your internal compass pointing you away from visibility, from wanting, from needing. Every time you hesitated to speak, that invisible hand pressed down on your throat. Even your smallest joys felt like trespasses. And yet, shame isn't quiet, it hums under your skin, vibrating with the message that you are wrong for existing as you are. You mistake it for personality, but it's inheritance disguised as humility. How do you unlearn a silence that feels like home? You searched for yourself in other people's eyes and found only distortion. The adults around you saw what they needed: obedience, politeness, quiet compliance, but never who you were beneath it. Each reflection you received was partial, warped, incomplete. So you began to build your self-image from fragments: their approval, their moods, their absence. Without a stable mirror, your identity became conditional, existing only when reflected back by someone else. The emptiness you feel isn't a mystery. It's the space left behind by years of being unseen. You learned to edit yourself until no one, not even you, could recognize what was lost. If you've never been truly seen, how can you trust that you even exist? There's a reason you flinch when someone looks too closely. To be known feels like danger because once it was. Vulnerability was punished, not protected. Every attempt at honesty met with dismissal, confusion, or quiet withdrawal. So you learned to keep your inner world locked away, decorating the surface with politeness and half-smiles. You crave connection, but dread exposure, the contradiction that defines the shy. You want to be understood, but you've built your safety on not being seen too deeply. Intimacy feels like standing naked before judgment, a risk your body still refuses to take. If every path toward love leads to the fear of being seen, will you ever let yourself arrive? Every silence you hear now carries the same weight as the first time someone ignored your voice. That old ache reawakens whenever a message goes unanswered, a glance passes by, a conversation ends too soon. You tell yourself it doesn't matter, but your body disagrees. Your pulse tightens, your chest shrinks, the echo begins. Rejection no longer needs to be real. Your memory supplies enough of it to last a lifetime. You anticipate abandonment before it happens, rehearsing it until it feels inevitable. And so you withdraw first, mistaking self-protection for control. In trying not to be hurt, you become the one who leaves. If you keep disappearing before they can reject you, who is it you're really abandoning? Every thought you never voiced became a stone in your chest. Questions left unasked, confessions left unsaid, arguments swallowed, all accumulated like a silent ledger of what you denied yourself. You tell yourself silence is safety, but it is also imprisonment. Each unspoken word reinforces the idea that your voice is dangerous, unnecessary, or unwanted. The mind does not forget these omissions. It repurposes them as anxiety, self-doubt, and a chronic sense of inadequacy. You carry a conversation with yourself that no one else hears, a dialogue built entirely on fear and restraint. If every word you've swallowed shapes the shape of you, how heavy must you be by now? Your mind became a labyrinth where every decision loops back on itself. Every choice what to say, how to move, how to appear is analyzed, dissected, and rehearsed in endless permutations. Overthinking is your armor and your prison, a way to anticipate danger that never existed, a way to control outcomes that will always elude you. Each what if breeds another, until the act of living itself feels like a minefield. You believe caution keeps you safe, but caution also keeps you separate, isolated within a world you watch rather than inhabit. You calculate endlessly, yet the fear never eases. If your mind is a map of every possible disaster, can it ever guide you to freedom or only to paralysis? You have perfected the craft of making yourself small. In meetings, in friendships, in love, you step back before you are asked. You nod where you disagree, laugh where you ache, and disappear into the margins where no one will notice your absence. This is not humility. It is survival dressed as politeness. Each retreat leaves a scar that no one sees, reinforcing the idea that your presence is optional, your needs secondary. You are both the architect and the victim of your erasure, constructing invisibility to avoid harm, yet slowly dissolving in the process. When survival requires your disappearance. Do you still exist as yourself, or only as a shadow? People call you quiet, gentle, reserved, words meant kindly, but they sting. They see the surface calm and mistake it for peace. They don't hear the noise inside, the constant hum of analysis, fear, and yearning. You long to be known, yet every attempt to explain yourself feels like shouting through glass. Your words reach the world muted, distorted, misinterpreted. So you stop trying. You smile instead, and they assume you're fine. Loneliness settles not from isolation, but from being unseen in the presence of others. It is the ache of existing in translation, always slightly mistranslated. If no one can hear your real voice, do you eventually forget what it sounds like yourself? The patterns that haunt you were etched in childhood. When your small cries went unanswered, when your emotions were dismissed or ignored, the nervous system took note. Emotional neglect is subtle, a ghost that whispers, "You are unworthy of attention, even from yourself." These early absences become invisible chains. Difficulty trusting, fear of intimacy, chronic self-doubt. You learn to rely on nobody because nobody relied on you. The world now feels precarious, and your quiet caution is the echo of those first unattended needs. You survive, but survival is not presence. It is endurance through absence. If the ghosts of your earliest years still walk with you, can you ever truly stand alone or only with their shadows? You crave closeness, but recoil from it. Every friendship, every relationship, tests the line between safety and exposure. You long to be known, yet the risk of rejection or worse, invisibility, keeps your hand hovering above the threshold. The shy child within calculates, anticipates, and hesitates endlessly, ensuring that no one sees the full weight of your fears. Connection becomes a gamble you've never been allowed to win. You can step into proximity, but you cannot surrender entirely without remembering every moment you are unseen, unheard, unvalued. If every attempt to reach out risks being erased, why would you ever lower the walls you built to survive? All along, you thought shyness was a quirk, a temperament, a gentle fault. But now you see it as what it always was, the body, the mind, the soul rehearsing disappearance to survive the world's neglect. Every instinct, every fear, every careful word has been a map of your own erasure, drawn in the ink of unacknowledged pain. And yet the world never notices, never needed to notice, because your absence is invisible even when present. You realize too late that survival has not preserved you. It has hollowed you, leaving a quiet echo where a life could have been. The shy child was never weak. They were a warning that invisibility demands a cost, that silence devours the self. When the quiet becomes all that remains, who is left to hear the silence?